So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to welcome you today, another time, to another session with advisors webinars. This is an interesting night because tonight we will be hosting a dear friend, a very professional, one of the nicest project managers you'll know in your life, Mustafa Hafizoglu. Hello, Mustafa.
Hello,
how are you? Good evening. How's everything?
Fine, very well. I hope you are also well.
I'm very good. You are joining us from Ankara, I believe?
Yes, I'm in Ankara now.
Okay, how's the weather tonight? Good?
Yeah, a little bit rainy, but it's quite warm.
Okay. So, welcome again. First of all, as usual, I'd like to thank the deep chapters who invite their members to join our webinar. I'd like to thank PMI Chapter Tunisia, Chapter Saudi Arabia, Moscow, Budapest, Zimbabwe, Central Italy, Uganda, Cote d'Ivoire, Mauritius, and Botswana. Also, I'd like to thank Strategy Implementation Institute, our partner, Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, and his co-founder, Speculant. And also to thank Guild of Project Controls. You're going to hear more about it next week in detail from Dr. Sean Regan, which is an international body that has over 2 million followers. Having said that, let's start with our friend, Mustafa. So, Mustafa, okay. First, as usual, I like to tell you, we met first in Casablanca. We were both offering speeches at a project portfolio management conference. Was it that? Yes. And from then we became friends. This was many years ago. And also Mustafa is our partner for advisors in Turkey. Now, Mustafa, he used to be PMI Turkey chapter president. In which year was that? 2017 or?
Yeah, that's
2017. Mustafa is also a participant in several of PMI books. I believe you are a contributor to the benefit realization management, and another one maybe is
governance. Yeah, governance of projects, programs, and portfolios.
Okay, so if you want to learn about governance or benefit realization, like myself, you have Mustafa. Khalas. Now, other than that, Mustafa works in the defense industry for years and years. He's, I think, program director in SDT. Okay. Now I'm gonna leave the floor now and leave it to Mustafa to continue to tell us a little bit more about himself. And then I'm going to join you back, Mustafa, when we start the questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Saadi.
Thank you and welcome.
Yeah, it's my very pleasure to be here to share my experiences. Hello all. As I start my brief introduction about myself, may I ask you to have a piece of paper of any size and a pen, because I will ask you a question after my brief introduction of myself. And please just have any size of piece of paper with you, with a pen. So you will need that piece of paper to answer my question. So I'm an author, I have a book. I'm a co-author of Project Management Analytical Approach book in Turkish. I'm also an instructor at various universities teaching project management. I'm founder of Project Management Office Summit in Turkey. I'm the past president of PMI Turkey chapter and co-founder also. And for about 22 years, I'm in aerospace and defense industry. And finally, I've been a program director in SDT, Space and Defense Technologies company. As Saad mentioned, I'm the core committee members of two recent practice guide of PMI benefits realization management and governance of portfolios, programs, and projects. Within this 22 years of experience, I have completed over 100 projects and programs of any type. And here I am to share my experiences on especially digital project management. So I believe your piece of papers are ready. I will ask you 2 simple questions. And please, could you please draw a house on the left-hand side of this piece of paper and draw coffee on the right-hand side of the paper. And you have only 30 seconds to draw these. And your time has just started. Please draw a house on the left and coffee on the right. In 30 seconds.
Can we do coloring as well, or only?
You will not have time, I believe.
Okay.
Last 10 seconds. Okay, time is up. May I ask you, does your house have a chimney at the top of the house? Could you please use the chat box to answer these questions, and I will just see the answers. Do your house have a chimney at the top? Yes or no, you can write. Yes, there's a chimney, or no. Yes, no. Zehra has yes. Mohammed, no. Peyman, yes. Ali, yes. Yes, no, yes, no. Okay. My next question, for the ones who have drawn chimney, did you also draw smoke coming from the chimney? Yes or no, please. If there is smoke, please draw yes. If not, draw right no. Yes, yes, no, no. Almost half, as I can see from the chat box. And question about the coffee. What did you draw? A cup of coffee, or a Starbucks cup, or coffee bean? May I ask you whether you draw a coffee bean, cup of coffee, or Starbucks coffee? Just please briefly write your answer in the chat box. Cup. Okay, Ibrahim draw cup. Sami says no. Coffee bean. Cup of coffee. Okay, most of you draw cup, but I see some of you draw coffee beans. And I saw also Starbucks coffee. Okay, Zahide a cup. Feven, okay. Hasan bean. Sam Yusuf mug, okay. Egemen cup of coffee. Yusuf cup of coffee. Hot coffee, okay. Then there's smoke over the cup of coffee. So, most probably, if you live in the Northern Europe, one of the Northern Europe countries, most probably you will be drawing a chimney with a smoke. If you live in one of the Latin American countries, most probably you will be drawing coffee beans. If you are a teenager, most probably you will draw a Starbucks cup. When I asked to my students in the university, draw coffee, most of them really drew Starbucks coffee. So, very simple words, house and coffee, but different perceptions. Because we have different cultures, different experiences, different ages. So these are the filters that we understand when we say a house or a coffee. We have all different perceptions. Today, we will start these perceptions, especially for the word digital. Our topics will be, we will be talking about what digital is, what digital project is, what digital project management is. And then we will be focusing on the reasons of why we are dealing digital projects and digital project management. And then we will try to find out how to digitalize. In other words, how to change. So if you're ready, let's start with a poll. In order to see your perception of this world digital. So I've just started the poll. What digital really means. If you use your computer, poll is also already on your screen. If you use your cellular phones, you have to push a poll button to see the poll. What digital really means. It's about technology, or it's a new way of engaging with customers, or it represents an entirely new way of doing business. I'll give 20 seconds for your answer and then publish it. Okay, I'm publishing the results. Sadi, can you see the results? Because I cannot see the results here.
Mustafa, it seems there's a simple mistake. I'd just like everybody, please, to find the place on your phone or iPad to select one of the options. Don't just write in the chat box, because if you write in the chat box, we cannot get the statistics online. I'm going to reset the poll and do it again. Start the poll with publishing. Okay, the poll is on now. You can use it.
Okay. I will wait for 10 seconds. And okay, let's see the results. I believe you can see it on your screen. Almost half of the attendees say that it represents an entirely new way of doing. 35% says it's about technology. 9% says it's a new way of engaging with customers. So when I say digital, actually these two answers are right. It is all related with our perceptions, as we discussed at the beginning with the house and the coffee. So we have different perceptions. Here, the critical thing is actually by having diverse perspectives is not bad, but we should align these diverse perspectives with a common goal and understanding of what digital means to the business. So having diverse perspectives need to be aligned. And even if we understand in a different way, all of the team members, all of the participants of the company should at the end understand the common goal related with this definition of digital. So everybody should know where to go when we say digitalization. And digital should be seen less as a thing and more a way of doing things. When I say a way of doing things, why it is important to get digitalized and to look for a new way to doing things? Because we are always in search of creating value, creating benefit within the organizations. So by digitalization, we are looking for actually to create value at the new frontiers of the business world. We are trying to create value in the processes that execute a vision of customer experiences. And we are trying to build foundational capabilities that support the entire structure. So by these benefits, by these value, we can achieve strategic advantage at the end and sustainability. So what about digital project? So when you look at various sources, you will come up with these definitions. Any project with a digital component will be called a digital project. Or if your project use internet and web technologies to deliver anything, from websites to mobile applications or video games, e-commerce to emails, if your projects have these components, that will be also called a digital project. That is one of the common understanding in the business life nowadays. But our main focus will be on digital transformation. So when I say digital transformation, actually, most of you will perceive specific projects that will be which has been initiated as a specific project within the organization, like ERP projects, enterprise resource planning projects, or like PLM system, product lifecycle management system projects, or simulation applications. They are all called digital projects as well. Type, please, digital project manager in one of the job search engines. And when you type that, I did it in LinkedIn and randomly selected 20 jobs, and their scope was similar to what you see in the slide. Today, our focus will be digital transformation, and my definition will go beyond these specific projects. Simply, my point is to consider and to define digital transformation as a benefit for your project. So actually, our aim should be able to make all projects digital projects. Let me explain this in more detail. Here, with the emerging technologies and wide use of internet, by using various data collection tools, we can reach huge amount of data, which we call big data. So think about this. Are you able to use this big data for the sake of your project, for the benefit of your project, for the success of your project? Here I had to stop because I have used a magical word, success. It's a magical word because definition of success differs from one person to another person. So let's see. Again, I have a poll here, and I'd like to understand your perception of definition of project success. So please answer this poll. I hope you can see the poll now. You have 20 seconds to answer what is your definition of project success. Okay, answers are coming. Is it simply...
Mustafa, can you keep it a little bit more? Because last time, many people said they had a delay and they wanted to answer, then it disappeared.
Okay.
Okay.
So is your project, if you complete it within scope, under budget, and on time, is it enough to call your project as a successful project? Or do you have an aim to provide benefit to the customer and the organization and achieve business success on top of completing your project within scope, under budget, and on time? Or do you see your project as a tool to prepare the organization for future? So what is your perception? The answers, I now see the answers coming, and it is very interesting. Okay, I think the time is enough because I can see no answers coming. I will wait for 10 more seconds. Okay. I hope you can see the results. 60% of the attendees define the project success as providing benefit to the customer and the organization and achieve business success. So it's very interesting. Because only 32% says that completing project within scope, under budget and on time is enough to title a project as a successful project. And only 7% says that preparing the organization for future is enough to define your success. Actually, think about these definitions in a timeline. So whenever you complete the project, you can measure your scope, your budget, and your schedule. So it is very easy to define your project as a successful or not. But at the end of the project, this timeline, you will have a delivery. It is a product or result or a service. So what happens to that product after you completed your project? Will that product help your organization achieve your one of the goals of the strategy in your organization, or makes your customer gain a competitive advantage? And in the coming future, if that product can help your organization gain competitive advantage in the long term, in the coming future. So you cannot measure them as the projects are completed. So if you look at the project success definition from the perspective of a greater timeline, not ending at the closure of the project, but looking at the product life cycle of your project, then your definition changes. So if I had asked this question 10 years ago, most probably majority of the answers will be the first choice. Completing project within scope, under budget and on time would be enough for a definition of a successful project. But now it changed. So that's why we are dealing with a new concept, digitalization, because as I mentioned in the previous slide, I want to see digital transformation as a benefit for your project. So, okay, next question. Lessons learned. Lots of projects are being started, initiated, and closed, and after that, lessons learned are accumulated. So as you start your project, do you use those lessons learned, information, knowledge for your project, for the benefit of your project, for the success of your project? Can you transfer knowledge within your organization? And on top of that, there are lots of processes that you use during your project execution. Can you effectively use those processes? So all these concepts actually bring us to this result. Digital information is changing how projects are delivered. So this paradigm shift is bringing new capability into project management with enabling greater sharing, remote access that we are currently experiencing, searching and updating of information with visibility, and increasing use of data, statistics, search and pattern matching by using vast amount of data sets, which provides new opportunities to transfer our project governance and project delivery. So your project should include a digitalization scope, which will also lead us to benefit. So from now on, I will call all of your projects digital projects. digital projects are not confined into a little scope of ERP projects or PLM projects. Now, in these times, we should call all of our projects digital projects. So what about digital project manager then? Project manager, we are all defined as firefighters because we deal with day-to-day problems, tactical problems throughout the project execution phase. And we are also strategy executors because projects are tools to execute the strategies. And most importantly, I like this definition, we are, as project managers, barrier removers. We come up with lots of barriers during the projects, and we are the removers. We are the communicators. We are the coordinators. And now, any challenge comes. From now on, project managers should be also called digital transformers. No longer is the project deliverable a physical product and associated services. It is now also digital information. So are you ready? Are you ready to be digital transformer? What do you need? What kind of skills do you need to be a digital project manager? This is a survey from one of the PMI's Pulse of Profession, and it says that there are top 6 digital age skills for project delivery. First of all, data science skills, which I mentioned at the beginning that big data is very important. So here you need to understand how to manage data, how to make analytics, and how to deal with these big data. Secondly, you have to have an innovative mindset because the problems are getting complex. Now we have both people working with us face-to-face as well as in the remote environment. We are not only working with people with specific functions, but there are lots of functions being joined in our projects. So we have an increase in complexity. So we have to learn how to deal with these complex problems. We have to have an innovative mindset. Cause and relationship type problems are not there anymore. We have more challenging problems. And after all, we need to have security and privacy knowledge, as well as legal and regulatory compliance knowledge. These are also important for risk management because although these may seem specific issues, we need to consider them as a risk item. They should be a part of our risk register. And we have to also gain an ability to make data-driven decisions. We have lots of data. If you cannot use those data, the uncertainty level will increase in your project and you will make wrong decisions. So you have the power to use data to make your decisions in a more certain environment. Please use them. And finally, you need collaborative leadership skills. In this complex environment, working with diverse functions in virtual environments and also face-to-face, you have to be collaborative and you have to develop your collaborative leadership skills. So it is challenging. We are in a challenging times. And how can we achieve this digital transformation in our projects, in our organization? First of all, we need to manage this change. There are some truths about change. Change is difficult. It's generally expensive and it takes time. But here is the challenging issue. We are programmed not to change as human beings because we are wired to survive. So we hang on to what has worked in the past. You most probably hear it from the people who resist to change. Okay, everything is going well. Why do I need to change? because we hang on to successful past mental maps and use them to guide current and future behavior. So that's why it is difficult to change. That's why it is challenging. So I will talk about 3 barriers to change and how to tackle with these barriers, also to help to understand how to make digitalization more effective. First of all, failure to see. We fail to see not because we don't have eyes that work, but because we have brains that block. The need for change. Even if we see the need for change, it is very difficult to show the need for change for the other people, for our teams, for our executives. So how can we achieve to make them see the need for change? There is a very powerful tool, experiencing. Actually, nowadays, we are facing this. We are experiencing incredible things that help us to see the need for change. As I mentioned at the beginning, I want to give an example. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm teaching at the universities. And one of the professors last week at Mechanical Engineering Department admitted that he had seen an online lecturing academicians as taking the easy way out, and he was fully supporting face-to-face lectures before this pandemic. However, due to the current pandemic, he was forced to lecture online, and he now admits that he will continue some of his lectures online in the future also. So experiencing is believing. And one more example. Here's a recent survey of PwC with CFOs. More than 3/4 of Middle East CFOs believe that work flexibility will make their organizations better in the long run. Think about the statistics before this pandemic. Most of the executives were not believing that workforce flexibility will make the organizations such better in the long run. But now they do. And a third have also plans to make remote working a permanent option. So it is incredible. So experiencing is believing. Since they experienced this, they can now see the need for change for the coming future. Even if we can show the people the need for change, we can show the people the need for digitalization, the new normal, the need for the new normal, we have also a second barrier, failure to move. If this right thing, here the digitalization, is not clear to the people, if they feel they do not have the capability to do this right thing, digitalization, they do not move. So make this the need for change clear to the people. But it will not be enough. If they feel that they are not capable of moving to this change, they will not go. So how can we make them capable? Think of the required skills just mentioned. If you train them on how to manage data, how to deal with big data, how to deal with knowledge, if you can train them, they will move to the change. So think about now. We are all talking about digitalization in our organizations. Can you feel anything relating with training in terms of data management? If no, then be sure that the change will not happen. And also you have to show the benefit, the consequences of this change, positive consequences. If they can see the positive consequences, if it is clear, and if they feel capable of doing that, then they will move to this change. But this will not be enough. There is also one more barrier, which we call failure to finish. you need to get at least 70% of the employees moving to this right thing. Because change is a long-term issue and it is tiring. You have to show the positive consequences not for the firm, but also for the employees. If they can see tangible or intangible benefits, then they will try to finish this change journey. So, as project management professionals, if we focus on the digitalization of our projects, if we can define and create benefits from this digitalization, we will also have to manage this change within our projects. And the success will be very powerful success. And I really recommend thinking about this as a whole concept, not a specific project as a digital project. So we have more challenges in the coming future. One of my favorite graphs, it says that number of billions of autonomous units are coming, and their growth is, the rate of growth is very higher than the number of people coming to the world. So by the early 2030s, robots are likely to outnumber humans. So how we interact with robots will determine how successful we will be in the new economy and society that's coming. And this is not a race against the machines. If we race against them, we will lose. This is a race with the machines. You will be paid in the future based on how well you work with robots. So now we talk about digitalization, but it is only the beginning. We have really challenging times in the future, and we have to be aware of that, and we have to get ready. So this is the concept of how we should look at digital project, how we should make that change happen in our projects, and we have to focus on the benefits of achieving that digitalization in our projects, and also get ready for the new challenge in our projects. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you get the benefit.
Thank you very much, Mustafa. It's really interesting. We have some good questions that we're going to take, but before that, as usual, allow me please to go through the upcoming events. And in this perspective, I'd like to start by announcing that next Tuesday, let me just make us smaller, okay? Next Tuesday, I've been invited to offer a webinar with GDA. GDA is the Gulf Downstream Association. It is established by Saudi Aramco, Kuwait Petroleum International Company, the BABCO from Bahrain, Kuwait National Petroleum Company, and then ADNOC joined them. And they have over 60 international partners. I'm going to speak next Tuesday at 8 a.m. KSA time on OPM assessment, organization project management assessment, and continuous improvement for strategy realization. So there will be a link. We're going to send you the link. Anybody who wishes to join, you are most welcome. Again, this is an event by GDA, and Advisors is a partner. So it is their episode 4. Okay, it's not part of the weekly webinars, which we usually do every Wednesday. Then following, we do have our next event is next Wednesday, which is June 10 at 9 p.m. KSA. We'll welcome Dr. Sean Regan. Dr. Sean Regan is one of the world authorities in estimation and risk management. He managed mega projects with total worth over 60 billion in the States, in the Gulf, in Europe, in several locations. He's going to speak about opportunities in complex or crisis situations. Also, we will share the link. Now, it's unusual to inform you about the event which will happen in 2 weeks, but I was so interested. What happened, originally, we had a presentation with one of our top consultants, Ahmed Mukhtar. There was a specific situation and he delayed. We agreed to delay it, but he will come back because I'm looking forward to that. Since there was an opening, I invited one of our also friends and partners, Jeff LaFrance. He's the CEO for a company called VizWorks. And he's going to speak about taking project model reviews to the next level in the time of COVID-19. They specialize in artificial intelligence, in augmented reality, virtual reality, and they have a very interesting solution that I actually had the opportunity to test and work on, which will help groups of people collaborate across various areas to do project design reviews. So these are the 3 upcoming events. Now, having said that, let's start with the questions. Okay, we still have some time until 10 o'clock, when I'm going to ask both Antonio and Rabia to join us. So we'll take some questions. This is from Victorine Hubayra. Shouldn't digitalization be first a part of the organization strategy?
For sure, yes. You remember, Sadi, when we talk about the failure rates of the projects, the top reason is generally the lack of executive support. So it is same for this digitalization as well. So this should be a strategic, there should be a strategic view focusing on this digitalization at the top of the organization, and then we have to, we can achieve this digitalization in our project level. That's
okay.
Good.
Before I move to the other question, I had a question in my mind. I found out, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, please tell me, that probably the barriers or the success for project management in the era of digitization and to manage digital project managers, I did not see you talk about anything technically about the technology itself. Maybe the problem is about the people and their way of collaboration, being open-minded, using critical thinking, and how they collaborate and work with each other. What do you think?
Okay, I was just looking at the chat box, and I also saw a comment on artificial intelligence. So one of the attendees mentioned that artificial intelligence will be more used in project management. So there are some processes or mechanisms in project management that can be digitalized in terms of decision making, or in terms of putting some processes online. But there are some parts that cannot be digitalized or that cannot be used by artificial intelligence, because as the complexity increases, complexity means that there are lots of parts interacting each other. So human mind is needed, because we are social creatures. And nowadays, it seems that we are dealing with online, but it is really in a short term. In the long term, we cannot get used to working online. We have to need to get socialized, because we are social creatures. So at the end, whatever happens related with the digitalization or robots or artificial intelligence, project managers should always deal with people.
Yes. Yeah. I truly believe focusing on people is important. Now, I have Muhammad Farid al-Haq he's saying people are more concerned about their success in addition to firm success. Maybe this relates to when you spoke about project success.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that comes the terminology of leadership. So focusing on people starts with focusing on training leaders. So if your organization focus on training leaders, then that leader has the duty of making all people's goals in a getting them in a common goal. So that's the definition of leadership, I believe. So if you have leaders, all the people following that leader will have that common goal.
Okay, I hope AI will not become our next leader.
I hope, yeah.
Yeah. Now, Abir Al-Taif, she's saying software product managers who use the agile practices are already digital project managers. So are they affected by this digital transformation, and how? Because they already work in digital environments customizable to change.
Actually, when I was searching for the methodology used in digital project management, I see that both agile and waterfall are being used in this type of projects. So actually that occurs a combination of two types when we are using them in digital project management. So a new way of methodology is being developed in this digitalized also project management, not only agile, but not only waterfall, but a combination of them.
So waterfall is not that, because if somebody nowadays says waterfall, somebody will shoot him in the project management world. Okay. Yes, it's still utilized. Okay, of course, lots of infrastructure and capital projects. They will still have to follow certain phases. Okay, they cannot just dig the ground and discover how much weight is needed or cement or whatever. They have to do the calculation before that in capital and infrastructure and EPC projects. Now, Ahmed Al-Shihri was asking, can the speaker give us a real example of change he lived within any organization? This is for you.
Yeah. I can give real example from my both academic life and also from my projects.
Let's focus on projects.
Okay, let's talk on my projects. So, as if we are forced to get started online with this pandemic times. Actually, my team did not have any experience in working online because our complex projects really needed to be face-to-face interaction. So they even, some of them even did not use any kind of tools like Skype or other type of tools. So the first thing I did was to train them how to use these tools. But training was not just a usual training. I made talks, daily life talks with these tools. So they feel comfortable, they feel more yet relaxed by using these tools, and they get into the digitalization. And now they are more digitalized compared to me.
Now, I had an experience working with people. Is much easier if you're gonna collaborate through an online social platform, online platform, rather than face-to-face, because you already know each other and you know your habits. Now, the real challenge is when in our type of business, we are required to work with organizations and people whom they don't know us, we don't know them, we don't know their styles, okay? Then it becomes a real challenge because you're gonna have to read body language, you're gonna have to break the ice over this small window, okay? Rather than having the capability to have a cup of coffee and talk about anything even other than business, maybe.
Okay.
So, yes, I have. Yes.
I have just read a research from, I think it was from Oxford University. They were just mentioning that making a Zoom type of communication, virtual communication, is more tiring than the face-to-face communication, because you just mentioned, actually, our way of communication is not only with the words, but we try to communicate with our facial expressions, with our body language. So since now we use only words, it is very tiring, because we try to make all our efforts without using those helpful facial expressions and body language. So it is very tiring. We have to know, we have to be aware of that. So after I read that research, now my meetings are restricted to 20 minutes in the projects. I do not allow my project teams to make meetings over 20 minutes.
This is very interesting. Now, when we offer, we used to offer lots of classroom-based training, and it's normal to have an 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours day. Okay, when it comes to offering the virtual led classroom, the maximum we can do is around 3 hours with breaks, because it's a totally different game. Okay, to keep people engaged. Okay, and actually to make sure that they learned whatever you want to teach them. Okay, and having collaboration and practice is also more challenging. It's doable, but more challenging. We are trying to adapt. Now, there was a question before I go back to the list of questions from Dugan Aral. Dugan Aral is from Turkey. I'd like to thank him because he took something that we spoke about, Mark Langley, Antonio, and I, and he made a very, very interesting video in Turkish, put it on YouTube. Then I understood some of it, and I told him I wish it was in English. Then he did it again in English. Thank you very much. Perhaps he can put the link here so that everybody can have a look at it. And Dugan is asking about the relation between change management and project management, which is a very broad question, but you need to answer it in 30 seconds.
Okay. Actually, as you know, one of the basic steps of project management starts with planning. But all of us know that plans will change. So change management is one of the crucial areas based on this planning. Why do we plan? Because the planning process is very valuable. By living that planning process, you actually leave the project before it happens. And then you start managing the change based on your plan. So you have a plan, you leave the planning process. Now, as the execution starts, you have to manage that change according to your basic plan. And it is not only about the plan, also the change, but it's also about the people. You have to manage the needed change that people should adapt. So managing change is also related with adapting people. So that's why I always focus on those barriers to change, which are all related with people.
Now here I have a very interesting question from Faisal Asmari. Faisal, he works in construction and mega projects for one of the largest oil and gas companies. And his question, based on his experience, he says, do you think if the employer implement some change of management or use digital projects, will submit the project in same deadline? What's the most obstacle? How about cost? Could you give us some statistics? I believe what he meant, when the organization goes through a change, whether it is digital or digital and something else, and this would affect ongoing projects. So what do they do in this case?
Okay, at the beginning of my presentation about the change, I mentioned that change is expensive. But not changing is more expensive. So we have to actually focus on the new thing and focus on the benefit that that new thing will create. So after all, yes, we have to spend some time and money for this change, but the benefit, if the benefit is greater than the cost, then we have to deal with that. And actually, yes, at the beginning, for the projects also, that may be costly, but my content of the presentation also mentioned that by making digitalization as a scope of our project will create benefits. So think about those benefits. Those benefits also expected to decrease the time of the project, decrease the cost of the project, decrease or increase the quality of the project. So if that digitalization had these iron triangle improved, then at the end you will be more successful than expected.
Okay. I think the people who are managing the change should have a full assessment of who will be impacted by the change and to include them within their plan. Now, we have lots and lots of questions, and we only have 3 minutes. And Fazal Muhammad asked several times, what is basic principle of project coordinator? In brief, he said. Okay?
Okay. Actually, project coordinator, when I say project coordinator, that can be a title under a project management office, under a project manager. It depends on where you locate that role within the organization. If you don't have a project manager in the organization, that title, generally project coordinator is used instead of project manager. But at the end, it is the same. If it is related with communication, if it is related to coordinating people, however you call them, it is the project manager from my point of view.
Okay. Another question from Noura Khiloufi. What do you think the inconvenience for the project digitalizations are? She's talking about inconveniences.
Inconveniences of what? Oh, I couldn't get that question.
Of project digitalization.
So, disadvantages of project digitalization, as far as I understand. She tries to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Every change also has a risk. So if you do not plan well on how to digitalize, you can also get unsuccessful. So you have to understand, you have to plan, or you have to define the benefits you are aiming at the first phase, and then you have to walk that road to the digitalization. So that's the disadvantage if you cannot plan it well at the beginning.
Mustafa, there are lots of questions. Would you like us to send them to you and maybe you can answer some of them? We'll send them back. Okay, I know this is extra work. I thank you. I would like to thank Dr. Radia. She spent a lot of time and she made 8 pages of answers to questions that were asked. Okay, I would like to apologize from each and every one of you for not being able, because of time, as you see, to take all the questions, but we highly respect the fact that you invested your time and joined our webinars. We like everybody to benefit. This is why I'm asking Mustafa to do the extra effort. And we'll send you back, Mustafa, Mustafa Hafizoglu will do the effort, and Mustafa Al-Kurdi will send you back. Hello, my name is Dr. Saadi Adra. I'm offering a webinar, Breaking Organizational Silos During the Times of Social Distancing. Join me soon.
This is Dr. Ibrahim Shira speaking to you from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We'll be focusing on public-private partnership contracts and privatization contracts. See you.
Hi, my name is Antonio Nieto Rodriguez. I was the chairman of the Project Management Institute in 2016. Today I'm going to talk to you about why project management needs to reinvent itself, and project managers too. So I look forward to see you in my webinar.
Hi, this is Al Zaytoun from Washington, D.C., USA. I look forward to interacting with you on the Advisors webinar titled Balancing People, Process and Governance for Operational Sustainability. See you then. So long.
Hi there, I'm Radia Benaria from Algeria. I'll be talking to you about emotional intelligence, leadership and transformational change. I hope you're well. Stay safe.
This is Mustafa Hafizoglu from Turkey. I'm offering you a webinar with advisors on digital project management.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sean Reagan from California and Prague, and I will be presenting a webinar with advisors on opportunities in crisis and complex situations, so please join me.